Every time that Jack goes in or out, he bashes those tubular bells. It's lovely. Oh, what a beautiful morning, and what a sore head I have. I'm walking around with, look at this lovely big cup of coffee, and I'm just trying to gradually ease myself into the day. I'll come clean, okay? I'll tell the whole truth here. I've been in bed with Sammy Bear. We've just been snuggling in together because my head's been sore, and I think it's just the result of a little bit of eye strain where I've been handwriting lots and lots of envelopes at the earlier part of this week. And of course, once I came to yesterday and I got all the stuff over to the post office, I think I kind of relaxed. And as I relaxed then, my head started to get sore. So I have actually taken a couple of aspirin, which is always good to have on hand because I don't believe in suffering in silence. I rarely get a headache, so anyway, it'll go shortly. And I think just being able to come out and walk in the gardens is so healing. Do you know, I'm just feeling my shoulders drop as I do this. It's lovely. It's just lovely. I'm just standing here in the little laurel archway. There's quite a few birds nesting here. It's a little sheltered spot. Now you can see the gardens are just easing themselves into the winter. So I promised you all a walk through the woodland gardens today, and I shall do that. Well, look at this. I've just spotted a rose. Look at that, look. The rose. Just the end of it there. The little archway. Do you know, I so look forward to getting out here during the winter months and doing all the pruning and the tidying up and, you know, just that lovely meditative work that really allows you to engage, much more so than the spring or the summer, because you really get to see everything. There's Jack up there chewing a little bit of the couch grass. Dogs love to chew that. I think it's very good for their digestive systems. There's still a few berries on the Lysestria famosa. That's grown very big over the course of the summer. Just walk down this way. Ah, there's my little robin. Quite a few robins actually in the garden. There must be about 4 or 5 of them. bit of a breeze. Quite a lot of long brambles there to cut back. But I just do the chop and drop so it all dies back down into the earth, feeds the earth. See little bits of twigs of the ash tree has fallen. I'll collect all those up because they make good kindling for the fire. And then there's wood here that I've cut. In fact, I cut that last year. And so that's well dried out. I'll get that over to the barn and jigsaw it up into little logs. And you can see here where the beautiful Rowan tree, as it's regrown from the dead tree. Well, it wasn't a dead tree when it fell over, but it did die. But before it died, it regenerated, which is lovely. And it's pulled, I think I've shown you this before, it actually pulled part of the old wall away with it. Now what that wall was doing there, I've no idea. But I am thinking to myself that it was at one point a division wall in fields, and continual erosion has pushed all the soil down behind it, which has raised the level. But there you can see the old wall, look, has been pulled forward, and it continues to widen. There's a widening going on there. But I must tell you this because it's very interesting, and it's going to provide a sort of a basis for further exploration of this land, certainly in 2018, because I have been so swept up in the planting of the land that the actual topography of it is now well embedded in my head, but I haven't had time to dissect it and come to understand it, if you like. And when I say topography, I'm not really referring to the geography of it, but to the man-made influences on it. And those of you who have read all the blogs and watched all the videos, which is now becoming a mammoth task to do, because all the records of the Bealtaine project are really stacking up. You know, there's hundreds of blogs and hundreds of videos. But you will know that I was told by an old neighbour who has since died that all of this land, now this is the old neighbour who used to live across the road in that, what is now that renovated cottage that you sometimes see on the video, just opposite my land here. But she told me that this area, and she was pointing to all of the area around her, so that was not just her land, but would be my land and, you know, all the land around, was, as a priest told her father, so now we're talking, you know, over 100 years ago, one massive burial site. And he wasn't referring to Christian burials, but he was referring to burials of archaeological interest. So going back hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. Um, I came across something very interesting when I was planting a tree. Now, I've still got the photographs because I took photographs of it, so we're talking now going back about 10 years, 12, 13 years maybe, at the very beginning of the Bealtaine project, and I took photographs of this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look out, it's just a couple of photographs, I'm going to look them out and I'm going to post some links to them, not straight away after I post this video because I have to go searching for them. They're on a memory stick somewhere. But I will actually post this up, if not on this particular video, then underneath the next one. So I will bear it in mind. So you can all have a look at what I discovered when I dug down a little bit here. You know, when I come out with my coffee in this camera, I never even thought about telling you this. It never crossed my mind. It was just when I got over here to this particular area, and the mystery of the stone wall, which is all the way down there. Yeah, I'm going to make some videos exploring some of this. I'm going to ask my brother Hugh to come over one day and just walk this land with me, because Hugh, who is very much a poet and thinks a lot about the landscape and comes to some very interesting conclusions. So, yeah, I think there could be some interesting conversations with Hugh over this land. I know that Hugh, when he was helping me to create the stone circle, because he was helping to pull out some of the bigger bits of stone, he referred to bits of the landscape that intrigued him. And one was that little hill up there, just on the other side of the fence. The little hill. It's not my land. But he climbed over the fence and he walked around that and walked over it, and was discussing with me the possibility of that being some kind of a burial mound, because some of the old burial mounds, I mean, some of them are massive. Some of them, well, many of them would be cairns, where the warrior or the queen or the tribal member was laid to rest. Sometimes they were laid to rest standing up, like Queen Maeve of Connaught, who was stood up, tied up to a big pillar stone, with her sword in her hand, facing the east, because that's what she said. She said, I want to be buried standing up and facing the east, so facing the rising sun. And then some of the burials that have been discovered in reference to the Celtic peoples, I mean, they held unimaginable treasure trove, because the Celts, of course, were, you know, not just, they didn't just believe in the afterlife, but it was actually part of their culture. It was an integral part of their culture, and the whole issue of the transmigration of the soul as well. You know, it was hugely important. So, yes, I'm rambling a bit, but I have a coherent strand of thought in my head, so bear with me. I'm just thinking aloud, really. I'm just going towards the stone circle now. And of course, it was at the time when I was moving stones around as well, taking them from parts of the landscape and to other parts of the landscape. So in particular, I was moving a stone, or moving a whole set of stones into the polytunnel over there. And I was making like little stone walls around the raised beds. And that was when, in the twilight, as I was heading back over to the cottage, and I think I'd forgotten something in the tunnel, and I went back in, and momentarily I was aware of a presence in the tunnel. And it was a very tall figure. A very tall figure. I can only describe him, and it was a male presence, and I can only describe him as almost like a white Masai warrior. And you know, the Masai tribe, they're very tall, and they seem to have a very noble bearing, you know, very refined kind of a posture. And momentarily that's what I witnessed. And I actually became quite, well, obviously freaked out by it. And I remember going back into the house, and my mother was staying with me at the time. And, you know, I said to her what I'd witnessed. Because Mum, of course, never questioned these things. She just accepted them as quite normal. And Mum was incredibly psychic. My brother Phelan would call her, you know, she was fey, a wee bit fey. And she said, well, you know, there are hundreds and hundreds of people here, Colette. There are hundreds and hundreds of people here. She said there are times when I get up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, and I go through the kitchen, and it's like being in a crowded tube station. That's what she said. And so it never caused as much as a raised eyebrow with her. That was just how it was. That was how it was. You see, this is the little hillock here. And Hugh has a theory that is actually part of an old burial mound. So it's a very interesting sight, and I have been aware from the very beginning, when I first came here, that there are energies here. And that's all I can describe them as, just energies. But not in any way threatening. In fact, I think that, you know, when people talk about threatening energies, I think it's their own energy being projected onto something. Because something that my grandmother always said, she said, it's not the dead you need to be feared of, it's the living. That's always stayed with me. It's not the dead you need to be feared of, it's the living. And so of course all the people who've gone before us, where has all that energy gone? We live in a biosphere. Where has all that energy gone? And was it Einstein who said that energy doesn't disappear? It can change. It can, I suppose, mutate is the wrong word. It can change. There's the sun shining on the beech trees. You see that still have their leaves. Beautiful golden brown. Oh, that coffee's doing wonders now. Between the 2 aspirin and the coffee, it'll be my coffin if I keep drinking it. I'll just keep to 1 cup a day anyway. But between the 2 aspirin and my coffee, I'm having quite a chilled out experience. You see, that's what comes when you don't take any form of pharmaceutical drugs or medication, which of course I don't. So when I do take a couple of aspirin, which is rare, I think I buy 1 packet of aspirin a year or something like that. But when I do take a couple of aspirin, then it has a very kind of strong effect on me. Do you know, I was reading as well of that we humans are now becoming almost immune to the effects of antibiotics, because we've been taking antibiotics, just about everything, and it's caused our immune systems now to become weakened, and to the effect that antibiotics no longer work, and there are strains of flu, for example, now that are doing the rounds, and other infectious diseases like that just cannot be treated. And yet, I do recall growing up in Oma, you were only taken to the doctors as a last resort. When you were hours away from death, you were hauled over to the doctors. But seriously, you were expected just to put up with certain things, and you were considered to be a bit soft if you went to the doctors with, say, for example, a cold. We had a very stern doctor up in Oma who's called Dr. Aidan Lagan, and as my mother would say, he'd run you out of the surgery. But he would. He didn't take any prisoners, that man. Yeah, I think that what's happened in the Western world is that doctors have become, in many ways, drug pushers. People go on about the problem of drugs, but the pharmaceutical drugs, the drugs with the big kind of tick in the tick box, so these are okay, take these. I think that they are, at the very least, as dangerous as the illegal drugs. And people do get addicted to them, I think we need to have a full and frank debate globally about drugs. And of course people think, well, drugs are either those things you buy from shady people in the streets, or that you get from a chemist. But I'm actually drinking a drug now, which is coffee, And tea is a drug, and alcohol, of course, is a very dangerous drug because it can be bought freely. So, yeah. So there we go. Look at, I have covered in this short conversation, I have covered life, death, the hereafter, the physical, the metaphysical, and now huge social issues like drugs. It's time I went in and made myself a cup of tea. There's the cyclamen out down there in that wee pot. And the beautiful rich red berries on the cotoneaster. Look at that. The wee birds will be coming up and eating those berries. Now, where's that Jackie boy? Jack? Jack? Oh, there you are. Happy boy. Happy boy. Now. Oh, he's on a roll. He's gonna do a wee run around. I bet she comes round this way. Look. Yes. Look, there he is. Oh, Jack. He did a little lap of honour there. A little lap of honour. So I've got another pile of books to bring over to the post office. Pascal's going to be very happy. I've got my big bag of wool here to sort out. Bealtaine Cottage is now returning to normal for a few days at least, because of course I got a phone call yesterday from Jerry in Dublin to tell me, happily tell me, I think Jack likes doing that. He does, doesn't he? You big show off, Jack. You big show off. Jerry was literally pressing the button on the printing press yesterday to start the printing of In Search of the Goddess Rising. So, there we go. In Search of the Goddess Rising will be delivered here, Jerry assures me, by someday next week. I'm thinking to myself, could possibly be Wednesday. And in which case then there's going to be a lot of posting, because I have a rolling list of names and addresses to put on envelopes now to get this book posted out. So it's wonderful news that it's all happening together, and you know, no one's going to be disappointed, especially me, because I really didn't like the idea of this rolling over into December, you know, because I'd already rolled it over across 2 months. So, yeah, there we go. Now I've got Lyric FM on, and there's, listen to this, very dramatic music. I think I'm going to change the channels now at this point. Have a lovely Friday, everyone, and just enjoy the day that's in it. I'm going up to Oma tomorrow to see my brother Phelim, who hasn't been very well recently, but I think he's making a good recovery. So I'm going to go up and just spend the best part of the day with him anyway. Have a lovely weekend ahead, everyone, and blessings to you all. Oh, and by the way, the links to all the books are just below this video.